North stings the corner. You know it's coming. You still can't stop it.
Welcome back, everyone. Best time of the week, 8 o'clock on Tuesday nights. I'm Charlotte North, ESPN's Jay Alter here with you guys as well. And this is the Lacrosse Rundown. And Jay, it feels like everybody has been waiting for this episode in particular in this week in lacrosse.
April is here, and I just feel like the sport hits a whole new gear. And what are we welcomed with? 1 versus 2, or I've been calling it 1 versus 1A, UNC and Boston College in Chapel Hill. You're going to be there, Charlotte. We're going to talk a ton about this game. And I kind of wanted to lead off giving huge props to North Carolina because they could have been looking ahead to this Boston College matchup like we've been for the last couple of weeks. And they've had hard games. They go on a Midwest trip, road trip, number 3 Northwestern, hard-fought game, go down 8-5 in that game, 7-0 run to roar back and win, and then turn around a couple of days later and play a hungry, desperate Notre Dame team on the road in some rough weather conditions. So I was, to say the least, I was super impressed with North Carolina's week and just the not looking ahead aspect of it and really taking their first adversity in that Northwestern game of the season because they've been blowing teams out. So give a lot of credit to North Carolina, and now they can properly focus on what is going to be an epic showdown.
Yeah, that Thursday-Sunday test for them on the road, like you mentioned, that is no joke. And the weather conditions in the game that we called on Sunday, Notre Dame, UNC, I don't know how many times I've seen a game be called after 3 quarters. I will say I have participated in one game that has been called after 3 quarters. We were playing at Denver my senior year. It was 1 degree. It was a blizzard, and the game was called after 3 quarters for safety reasons, clearly. But this game, when the weather sounded, the weather siren sounded, there was, according to Jay, chunks of rain falling. There was hail. There was
I did
wind.
say that.
There was maybe a thought of a tornado warning of sorts. It actually flipped completely in the matter of seconds.
It was crazy because in the first half, sun shining, and Notre Dame for 5 minutes looked like, okay, they're going to make this a game. And they had beaten North Carolina each of the last 2 meetings. So you never know. And then North Carolina hit a new gear. The weather totally turns. Chunks of rain. I guess I'm not a meteorologist. That is not a weather term, but that's what it looked like. Just chunks of rain falling from the sky. I've never seen anything like it. And credit to North Carolina, though, Charlotte. They took care of business. And now, do you really put Northwestern in kind of tier 2, having head-to-head losses against Boston College and North Carolina? Yes, they're the number 3 team in the country. But is it tier 2 almost by themselves, and then tier 3 is everybody else?
I know. I feel like we've been talking about this all season long. And I was impressed with Northwestern's response to the opening quarter of that game. UNC went on a run. They opened up 5-1. Northwestern made the adjustments. Defensively, they shifted out of their zone defense. They elected to face guard Ashley Humphrey as the quarterback of that Carolina offense. And they went into their man-to-man defense, and they were able to come back on a run of their own. But it just showed that lacrosse is a game of runs, that we know that. And it also showed North Carolina's depth from that Thursday night top 3 matchup to another tough matchup on the road in the ACC on Sunday. Having depth like that helps you. And it also helps when you're recovering now to go play the number 1 team in the country this coming Saturday.
Yeah, I think throughout the whole show, we're going to break down BC UNC and give you a full preview from all angles. And as we were looking at this matchup, and we called that North Carolina team over the weekend, Charlotte, the goalkeeping, probably something that we as kind of media members aren't talking enough about. It's kind of the year of the goalie, and both Boston College and North Carolina have a goalie with a higher than 50% save percentage, which is unheard of.
It is unheard of. And I think they're all flying under the radar right now because there are so many other stars coming to light. We talked about the Big Ten a lot, the Ivy League and the ACC. So many stars offensively that are filling up the stat sheet. But these goalies that are sitting over 50%, for all the goalies out there, if you guys are a goalie, let us know in the comments what you guys think about this, because there are goalies over 50% in the save percentage category, and they're playing against the best shooters in the country. Not only do we have Shea Dolce at Boston College, she's at 56% right now. You have Betty Nelson at 52% for North Carolina, but then you have Erin O'Grady at Michigan. She was in this category last year. You have Jacqueline Torres at Ohio State, who was a transfer. You have a number of other goalies that are sitting above 50% right now. And I just think it speaks to the skill level of the goalkeepers this year.
Yeah, I think for North Carolina, look, Betty Nelson has kind of taken it to a whole new level because they've got a really good defense in front of them. They've got a loaded offense, but the goalie position was a bit of a question mark, and Nelson, relatively unheard of. Like Dolce, we know. Dolce made that kick save with her foot to win a national championship. She's a household name. This is not a surprise when it comes to Shea Dolce. But Betty Nelson, I mean, Charlotte, that sounds like my neighbor down the street. Everyone loves Betty Nelson. She hosts the Easter egg hunt for the kids in the neighborhood. We got to give respect to Betty Nelson because she is right up there with Dolce. And I think if North Carolina is going to win this game, it's going to be because of Betty Nelson.
I mean, she's a redshirt freshman, and she's playing with a ton of confidence right now. She's poised. We saw in the game against Notre Dame, she was taking a high arc, taking risks, closing off angles for shooters. She had a clutch save at the end of the half against Northwestern that really gave North Carolina a 2-goal swing and momentum heading into halftime when they were down. I mean, she's not playing like a redshirt freshman. And a credit to all the goalkeepers across the nation who are playing at this level. And we'll see. Maybe we'll see a goalkeeper as one of the 5 finalists of the Tewaaraton Award at the end of the year.
It could be. And because there's not a standout, right? Let's say Dolce keeps it at 56% or even gets to 60. How do you keep her out of the 5?
I mean, I don't see how you do. I mean, there are so many talented players, obviously, on Boston College and North Carolina, but across the board, nationally on these top 10 schools. And there are so many goalkeepers statistically that you can make an argument for, which is why it's going to be so difficult. But that would be pretty cool to see a goalkeeper up there.
You bring up Tewaaraton, and we get a ton of comments, and we love everybody's feedback. The chat's blowing up. Again, keep your comments coming, either live during the show or comment after the show. And one we get every week is Tewaaraton. Who do you think's going to win? I'll tell you what. I think we could have a very unique situation, Charlotte, where we have 2 sisters as two of the 5 finalists, and that's Chloe and Ashley Humphrey. And I went to the record books. There has never been a freshman finalist on the women's side. Mikey Powell was a finalist as a freshman for Syracuse on the men's side. But Chloe and Ashley, I really think, because I wrote down some numbers. Chloe, 6 straight games, 4 goals or more. Ashley, 6 straight games, 4 assists or more. If they keep playing that out, they're going to shatter North Carolina's scoring records. This is North Carolina we're talking about. So this is a blue blood program. So if they set those records and UNC goes undefeated or even has 1 loss, how do you keep them out? So we could see some history.
I mean, lacrosse fans and you guys in the chat right now, you all know of the Thompson brothers, some of the greatest players to ever play the sport of lacrosse, some of the most fun players to watch, their creativity and style off the charts. The Thompson brothers won the Tewaaraton Award together in 1 year. And you mentioned Mikey Powell. Lacrosse fans right now, if you have never seen his highlight tape, do yourself a favor and look him up on YouTube. He is also on the Mount Rushmore of lacrosse players with his skill and his flair. But I agree with you. I think I don't know if they'll both be finalists. I think you could make a case for either of them statistically, what they're bringing to the table in terms of how much of an effect they have on the offensive end and how much of the point total that lies in their hands as the 2 Humphreys sisters down there on attack. I mean, you're seeing them take over these matchups, not just in the early season, but in these big time matchups, they want the ball in their stick. And Ashley's the quarterback of the offense. We've talked about her vision, her feeding ability, and Chloe's the goal scorer. She's so explosive with both hands, and the rate that she's scoring goals, she could break Jamie Ortega's single season goals record at North Carolina. And that is something that I don't know if we ever thought would be touched.
Yeah, I think when you look at North Carolina, when I was growing up, not growing up, but falling in love with this sport, right? It was Ortega and Hogue. And now you've got Chloe and Ashley Humphrey in a very similar mold. And Hogue and Ortega, they never got the Tewaaraton, right? I think you had something to do with that, kind of standing in their way. But I do think because we don't have that standout, right, you will gravitate to who's the best team, who's the best player on the best team. And for me, it would be Chloe Humphrey. And if you want to go Ashley, that's fine too. But I would go Chloe. I think she does a little bit more. And I've been really impressed. And you would never know she's a freshman, Charlotte. It's an incredible work rate that she has. Her head coach, Jenny Levy, calls it a superpower. And when you talk about some of the greats to play this sport, the Powell brothers, right? The Thompson brothers, like you mentioned.
The Stanwyck family.
The Stanwyck family, all 8 of them. Get them in there. You are putting the Humphrey sisters in rarefied air when it comes to this sport. When you mention the Thompsons, the Powells, the Stanwicks, I think the Humphreys will be that next iteration, and it's well-deserved.
And I think people forget about the career that Ashley Humphrey had when she was at Stanford. She transferred over to North Carolina after 2022. And at Stanford in that season, she broke the NCAA single season record for assists. So she's actually, it was an 82 assist mark record. She broke it. And she's actually on pace to break her own record again and set a new mark for NCAA single season assist numbers. And I love the leadership that she's playing with and the evolution of her game, because teams are game planning to shut her off defensively and to take away her ability to quarterback the offense. If the ball can't get to the person who sees the field so well, it kind of stops the flow. So it's been so cool to see her mature over her years throughout her career and to see how she's now playing with her younger sister. I mean, in the game that we called on Sunday, it felt like there was so much trust on the field between those two, no matter how open or closed off Chloe Humphrey was, no matter how many jerseys are around her. You can see the way that Ashley trusts Chloe to catch just about anything inside the middle of the 8-meter and finish it. So it's been fun to watch them, to say the least, but they'll have a big test coming this weekend, of course, against the Boston College defense.
Yeah, we even saw 2 goals scored in South Bend where all 3 sisters got a touch.
Yeah.
One sister got the hockey assist, one sister got the assist, and one scored the goal. But let's step outside Chapel Hill for a second and check in on the Ivy League. For a couple of weeks, we've been saying Ivy League is all over. Who's going to win it? We're not so sure. I'm ready to put a stamp, and it's going to crush me because I've been kind of on the Yale, Erica Bamford train, but Princeton seems like the team that is separating from the pack. Jamie McDonald, Mackenzie Blake, Amelia Hughes at goal. Abigail Roberts has done a great job on the draw control circle. I just feel like they've got the depth, the consistency. They had an early season loss to Virginia, first game of the season. They've won 8 straight, and I do feel like they're the dominant force coming out of the Ivy League.
And we said last week, I'm on that Princeton-Penn game at the end of the regular season. It kind of feels like the slow build of the Ivy League is looking at that game. And I've been so wildly impressed with Princeton. I even said to you, Jay, this past week, are they the 4th best team right now in the country? I mean, they have their own 3-headed monster. Haven Dora has been so balanced. She's their quarterback. She had 4 goals, 4 assists in their win against Yale. You mentioned Mackenzie Blake. She's a goal-scoring machine. She's so tall and strong and athletic on the inside. 5 goals in that game. A clutch goal with 2 minutes left in that game to put the Tigers up by 2. But 8 straight, and again, the Ivy League teams, they start a little bit later in February, and it takes a little bit to get going, but they're absolutely rolling, and they look like a confident team, a dangerous team. And the Ivy League is the most intriguing of all the conferences to me, because how many teams are going to get into the NCAA tournament? Is it going to be enough? Is the RPI going to be high enough for these teams? And it feels like they're all trading places with each other, but Princeton has impressed me the most.
I agree with you. And I think on the men's side, the same could be said, Charlotte, in terms of most intriguing conference. I think we kind of know what we've got in the ACC with Virginia, Duke being a little down this season. In the Big Ten, Johns Hopkins, the wheels have kind of come off a little bit. I don't know what's going on there, but they just lost to Rutgers and Michigan. But in the Ivy League, yes, you've got Cornell. Princeton is really, really good. Yale and Brown got off to slow starts, but you wouldn't want to play them right now. So I just feel like on both the women's and the men's side, as we head into April, and this is crunch time in the sport of lacrosse, the Ivy Leagues do have the most intrigue.
The most intrigue for sure. And a question mark lies within them. I feel like every weekend on the men's side, you mentioned Cornell. I feel like outside of them, every game has been so exciting to watch. And there's so much star power. The last shout out I want to give on the women's side, though, Ashley Mackin. We talked about her as a potential Tewaaraton finalist, and then Johns Hopkins women's lacrosse team absolutely rolling right now, maybe sneaking up in the Big Ten. They're sitting fourth nationally in their ranking, but could they challenge Northwestern for the Big Ten title? Ashley Mackin had 9 goals on 10 shots. We talked about CJ Kirsten, his 9-goal performance. Mackin had 9 goals on 10 shots in their win against James Madison, a ranked opponent. James Madison was 14 in the nation last week. I mean, it seems like she has no signs of slowing down either.
No, absolutely. Glad you mentioned that. Should be in the Tewaaraton conversation. At Hopkins, for me, is solidified in that 4th spot for now with a lot to prove. On the men's side, I vote in the poll just like I do on the women's side. I actually have kept Maryland at number 1, which is, I guess, a little controversial. Everybody's got Cornell.
Okay.
It's no disrespect to the Big Red. I think Cornell's really, really good. Maryland only has that one loss. It's in triple overtime. Michigan, obviously, is a lot better than maybe we thought they were with that win against Hopkins. So, to me, you've got kind of Maryland, Cornell. I put Princeton in that top tier as well. And then Notre Dame, everyone wrote them off after a couple of losses. They have come roaring back into the conversation.
Absolutely rolling. We talk about Chloe Humphrey and how exciting she is to watch week in and week out. How about Jake Taylor on the Notre Dame men's team? He made Sports Center this weekend.
Yeah, that goal was crazy.
Nasty behind the back assist on a broken down play. Check it out right here. This play, shot gets blocked. It's on the carpet. He picks up a pass on the doorstep, a one-time behind the back pass. He's so crafty on the inside of an offense. It feels like similar to Chloe Humphrey. You think you're marking them off ball, but you're not. And they get their hands free and they'll shoot in ways and release the ball in ways that not a lot of players are able to do. And you just see the deception of Jake Taylor. He's been someone that I've loved watching, and I can't wait to continue to watch him in his professional career after he's done. But it feels like this Notre Dame team is clicking again. Are they back to top form? Are they the top team in the ACC right now?
I think they are, because the Carolina team I've been really high on, they lost to Army.
They
so
did.
It's like the ACC is going to have a really down year. The numbers are going to be brutal. People are going to be pissed off on Selection Sunday because there's not going to be a lot of ACC teams that make it. But then you look at what they did in non-conference play. Syracuse loses to Harvard. Carolina loses to Army, like we just said, and Princeton beats Duke. Like, there's no marquee win, and I feel like other conferences are boxing them out. So I feel like you're going to have to go down to that ACC tournament, Charlotte, and if you want your spot 100% secure, you better win the thing.
I agree. I mean, how about Army, though? What a week for that program. The men's team beats Carolina. Jackson Eicher, 6 goals, put on an absolute clinic. All of his goals that day were beautiful to watch. But then the women's program beats Stanford at home in
that was a great win.
Really exciting game to watch. Bridget Duffy, I know we talked about her. She fills the stat sheet in ways I have not seen a midfielder do in quite some time. She had a game-sealing charge at the end of that game, steps up on both ends of the field. But what a week for that program.
Yeah, great shout out. I'm glad you got that in there, because really on both the men's and the women's sides, statement wins for Army, and both are going to be, I think, some big factors in postseason play.
Yeah, let us know in the chat what you guys thought was the most exciting game to watch, where you guys went to go watch some lacrosse this week or this weekend, and what you think. What do you guys think is the most exciting conference right now, the most intriguing conference? Is it the Ivy League? Is it the Patriot League? Is it the Big Ten? Is it the ACC? I mean, my vote's on the Ivy League right now, but we would love to know your guys' thoughts.
I think what's interesting is you mentioned the Patriot League and Army. Have they built enough of a resume where if they lose in the championship on the men's side, will they still get in? because
I think so.
traditionally the Patriot League is a one bid league.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. But I mean, with the way that BU has been playing this season, I could see them winning the Patriot League championship. I mean, I don't know. That's what makes it so exciting to watch. But I agree with you on Selection Sunday. I don't know right now which conference is going to be the most upset with how few teams get in. Again, we mentioned the men's tournament, a much smaller field. So it leaves a lot of room for teams to get left out that could make a run.
So on the men's side, I think it's the ACC. On the women's side, I think the Big Ten is going to be very disappointed, both in number of teams that get in and seeding.
I mean, oh, it's so tough. It's so tough because you could have a team like Michigan that, again, could make a run. We saw them last year. They upset Notre Dame on Notre Dame's field in the second round of the tournament to make their first quarterfinal appearance. But that league right now, the Big Ten on the women's side is so stacked. The Big Ten on the men's side, I want to go back to the Hopkins Blue Jays for a second, because on the men's side, they're sitting at 0-2 in the Big Ten, Jay, and their last 3 games on their schedule, Ohio State, Penn State, and Maryland.
They could go 0-3.
And then they set 0-5 in the Big Ten?
The wheels have completely come off the bus. This was a team that was top 5 preseason, had a lot of expectations. They're really good. They're well constructed, but I don't see a path, Charlotte. I mean, they would have to play so much better than they looked against Rutgers and Michigan. And even if let's say they pick off one of those wins, right?
Right.
Is that enough? I think they've dug themselves too big of a hole.
I don't know. It's so tough. I mean, but again, it's what makes the Big Ten tournament that much more exciting on both sides, because we could see a resurgence of this Johns Hopkins team, and we could see the Johns Hopkins women's team go on a run and take the crown there. I don't know. That's what makes it so awesome. And that's what we love about this sport, is that there's a lot of parity. There's been a lot of upsets. It's made ranking the top 25 a nightmare after, of course, on the women's side, numbers 1, 2, and 3. But let's get to our favorite segment of the show, and the one that we love the most because of you guys right now watching this live stream in the chat, asking us questions and being a part of the conversation. You guys submitted some questions last week that were phenomenal, and we saved them to air on this week's show. And again, if you guys want your questions answered, make sure when this live stream ends that you guys go onto the live tab of my YouTube channel, you subscribe, like the video, and then drop a comment on what you want answered next week. Obviously, there's a lot coming up this weekend in college lacrosse, but if you have a question you want answered at any point, drop it in the comments section.
Yeah, we try and cover as much as we can, but we're not mind readers. So if you've got a question, the best way, fire it into the comment section and you'll get priority. And we love all the stuff coming into the chat during this show, as always. But keep it going, because we love your interaction. The Lacrosse Rundown is not possible without all your feedback. So keep it coming.
Best part of the show. All right, Jay. Question number 1. Juliet Desportes 2833 said, great episode. Question for next week. What is the best advice you have ever received from a coach?
Oh, that's a great question. Juliet, that might be the best question we've ever received on the Lacrosse Rundown.
It might be.
I feel like it's more directed at you, Charlotte. So you go, and that'll buy me some time to think of something, because that is a great question.
I mean, I've received so many valuable pieces of advice from coaches throughout my journey. The one that jumps out to me right now, though, is my high school head coach, Maggie Cook, who is now an assistant coach for the Syracuse women's lacrosse team. She told me in my days playing for her that can't is a choice. It seems like a simple phrase. It seems, nothing that really catches your eye. But when I was developing and learning about the sport, she taught me in moments of frustration, when I felt like I couldn't master a skill or I felt stuck in my development, she reminded me that every time the word "I can't do this" came out of my mouth, she reminded me that that's a choice that you make as an athlete. And you have the choice to decide if you are willing to put in the work and put in the time and get the repetition of a certain skill in to change that outcome and to show yourself that you actually can do something if you put your mind to it. And every time that I caught myself saying that, even after my days playing for her, I realized that I had a choice to go out and change the outcome of whatever it was, whether it was winning a game, making a play, adding a skill to my toolbox, or changing the way I went about something. It wasn't even just within lacrosse terms. It applies to everything in life. And it's something that's stuck with me throughout my years. And it's a very valuable piece of advice that I hope you guys take with you. But my head coach, Maggie Cook, that one sticks with me forever. Can't is a choice.
That's an awesome one. I'll give you a quick one from Duke's head coach, John Danowski. He said it to me earlier this season. He goes, a lot of people say in a big game, you have to rise to the occasion. Excuse me. He says, don't rise to the occasion. Fall back on your preparation. So I always say, be prepared, fall back on your preparation, as my voice completely gives out.
I mean, you've been on a broadcast here. We're not forgetting the March Madness that has almost come to a close. But I love that one too, because I think it fuels confidence in athletes when you remember how much you've prepared. I think that is the number one source of confidence, when you remember all the hours that you and your teammates have put in to get to the point that you're at now. Instead of fearing an outcome or a what if situation, you remember that you are prepared because you've done all the work. Now you get to just show up and play and have fun. I love that one as well. All right, question number 2. Lucy Narvaez, F1T, says, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm going to the OSU versus Northwestern game on April 19th. Do you guys have any input on how this matchup might play out?
Okay, well, Ohio State's had a couple of bumps in the road. They were one of these teams where some people said they scheduled a weaker non-conference schedule and they got undefeated and got ranked high. Are they for real? Well, they've hit conference play. They've had a couple of losses. How can they respond, right? Because now I think they're in a position where they find themselves on the bubble. Well, if you can beat Northwestern or even play Northwestern within a 1 or 2 goal game, that justifies that ranking and that you deserve a spot in the NCAA tournament. So that game's a couple of weeks away. So you have a couple of games between now and then to try and get some confidence back. But that obviously is a huge resume opportunity for Ohio State.
They have one of the best goalkeepers. We mentioned her earlier in the show at above 50% in her save percentage category, Jocelyn Torres. And we just saw a Penn State team upset Michigan in the Big Ten. So there's a lot of shakeup in the Big Ten, not just with Ohio State, but they currently sit 21 in RPI. They're 8-2 though. So I think it would go a long way, like you mentioned, for them to be able to come out on top in this win. And if not, make a push in the Big Ten tournament. We got another question from Ava Lee about the Ohio State team, about their first 2 losses, but then their chances of making the NCAA tournament. So that is another great question. And hopefully we answered that there. But Madeline came in this week and asked, what do you think is the biggest contributing factor to Boston College's great first half of the season?
Wow. I mean, so many different factors. I think the biggest one is they have a 3-headed monster in Emma Lapinto, McKenna Davis, and Rachel Clark. I think whenever you have players that can put the ball in the back of the net, that gives you a chance to win, Charlotte. And I think that is the best attack in the sport right now.
I agree with you. Point number 1 for me was the offense playing complementary style of lacrosse together. And we mentioned different styles with different players. Those 3 play completely different games. And you're seeing that's why it works. Add in Mia Mascone, the reigning Ivy League attacker of the year from Brown, comes in seamlessly to this offense. And she's sneaky. She can throw in a couple of great dodges, a couple of explosive plays that really get this offense going. So they will fire at you from a number of different places. And I think the point that's maybe right behind that is their defense. And I know I've talked to you about this, Jay, but their defense, they slide on a string and they have chemistry on that side of the ball. That not only do they trust their 1v1 defense, they have Shea Baker and Lydia Colasante leading the way. In my eyes, they could both be first-team All-American defenders based on the way they're contributing defensively and on the draw control circle. But they slide on a string, and it feels like you can see the way they trust each other in that sense. And they don't leave many gaps open for opposing offenses to see opportunity.
So that kind of brings us to the question of the week, the question of the show. Let's get into it. Looking ahead, April is here. We started at the top. Full preview. BC, UNC, 1A versus 1B. Here we go. We don't do a lot of X's and O's, right? We try and keep it fun, and let's get nerdy. Let's get X's and O's, because this matchup, honestly, I think this is chapter 1.
Yeah.
I think these teams are going to play each other 3 times, the ACC tournament and then the NCAA tournament. So this is chapter 1. This is that first test, like 2 heavyweights in, a boxing match in the ring, right?
Yep.
Do you want to show everything, Charlotte? Like, do you want to hold a little back knowing there might be 2 more meetings? Or is getting the 1 seed in the ACC and potentially the 1 seed in the NCAA worth it, so you empty the bag in this matchup?
With this rivalry, Jay, I can guarantee you neither team will leave anything on the table. These 2 teams will come out swinging. This is a budding rivalry in our sport, and this is what we live for. So all of you guys in the chat right now, if you're a lacrosse nerd, give us your prediction as we start to dive into what we think. Give us your way too early prediction for this matchup that we've all been waiting for all season long, and maybe what you're most excited to see in this matchup. For me, number 1 most excited to see that this matchup right now screams to me 2 very similar style defenses. And I know I'm an attacker. I love goal scoring. I love the highlight plays. But to me, it's which offense has figured out the opposing defense the best, because they play similarly. We mentioned the 1v1 defense. They don't play a zone defense. They trust their 1v1s. They'll slide when need be, but it's about that next layer, the second slides, the third slides, the backside of a defense when you are sending the double teams on the front side. Who can figure out and crack these 2 stellar defenses first? And my question for you, Jay, and all of you guys in the chat, do you anticipate this game being a shootout, a high-scoring affair with all the offensive firepower, or do you anticipate this being a defensive battle with unbelievable goalie play?
So to me, that question is the right question to ask, because that's going to decide who wins this game. Boston College, number 1 scoring offense against North Carolina, number 1 scoring defense. So if it's a lower scoring game, a more defensive game, I think that favors Carolina. And if it's a high scoring shootout, I think that favors Boston College. I'll give you my answer. I think it's going to be a very high scoring game. I do. And you're thinking, why? Both goalies are better than 50% save percentage, like we mentioned earlier in the show. Defenses are stacked, like you just said. I just think, look, you can't stop Clark and Lopinto. I think you can just hope to contain them. They're going to get theirs. It's the second wave. You mentioned Amali Driscoll, Amia Moscone. North Carolina's got a lot of depth too. Like, looking at their rock, Marissa White's coming on strong.
Yeah.
Caroline Godin has showed some
Kylie
flashes.
Motice.
Right. She's got 4 hat tricks on the season.
She's sneaky in their top 5 in scoring on this deep roster.
So you got the Humphreys sisters, like we've talked about, Vergano. I'll give you a final score.
All right, let's hear it.
15-14.
Stop.
Boston College.
I swear to you guys in the chat, I swear to you, we did not talk about this before going on. I swear to you guys.
You have 15-14?
16-15 Boston College.
That's crazy. We're hanging out way too much with each other.
I mean, but
wow.
I think we've watched a lot of lacrosse, Jay. I think we've studied these.
We might know what we're talking about.
We've studied these 2 teams, but forget about us. We want to know what you guys think. What is your prediction for this game, and what are you looking forward to the most? Who are you looking forward to the most in this matchup? Again, it's round 1 of what we think will be multi-round fight. And that's what's so exciting about how many times this team could match up. I mean, I can't even remember how many times at Boston College we played North Carolina in my time there. I mean, it feels like a chess match. So you mentioned adjustments. There's going to be in-game adjustments, quarter to quarter. There's going to be game-to-game adjustments as they continue on into tournament time. But this game, this is what we wait for. This is what every lacrosse fan in the nation is just absolutely sitting down with no distractions on Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, ESPNU.
So because it's such a big game, next time we'll talk to you is a week from tonight. So next Tuesday, April 8th, happens to be my birthday, Charlotte.
Oh, yeah.
You are getting me a big present, which is our first guest on the Lacrosse Rundown, the winning coach. So if North Carolina wins, it's going to be Jenny Levy. If Boston College wins, it's going to be the great Acacia Walker. So the winning coach will be my birthday present, our first guest on the Lacrosse Rundown. You do not want to miss that. And we are going to have a full recap of what we think is going to be the game of the year so far.
Absolutely. I'm so excited for this, Jay. You mentioned I'll be there. I'll be in the booth. I'm excited for it. And what better way to celebrate your birthday than to just get on with all of these people right now in our community, in the Lacrosse Rundown community, and talk about the biggest matchup of the year, America's game of the year on Saturday. I can't wait, but this was awesome, Jay. Another awesome episode, a lot to talk about, so many stars, so many programs that have a big opportunity in front of them. And we're here every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock to talk about it with you guys, to hear your thoughts and to answer your questions. Remember, subscribe to the channel before you guys leave. Head to the live tab as soon as this ends. Drop a like, drop a question, be a part of the conversation, because this is where you get all your lacrosse news that you need to know and tell your friends about. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.